complete desert.
Our plan is to make it to Sweden, and it's getting harder and harder to make it.
We're low on water and we're in the middle of nowhere, as you can see. Christian's ATV just refuses to start, and we check it through and come to the conclusion it's completely drained of fuel. And this is the worst possible spot for a situation like this.
Well, we don't know where we are at the moment.
We can't find any trucks or anything to give us a ride or a tow, because we would prefer to put it on a truck and have it shipped to the next big city, and it's about 300 kilometers from here. Christian's ATV just won't start. We check everything and come to the conclusion it's completely out of fuel.
After pouring all the fuel into one of the ATVs, we started towing the ATV without the fuel. And we're hoping to reach the next village that was approximately 200 miles away. It was getting darker and darker, so we decided to set up camp because it's really dangerous driving during nighttime.
The next day, we were delightful to find our old Russian Aral bus that drove past, and they stopped and asked if we needed some help. And there was a tiny little van full of people, and they offered to actually make some room and squeeze the ATV in the back. And of course, the thought was always there that he's alone in this truck and not being able to communicate and not really knowing who they are.
It was a weird situation, sitting there in a crowded van, and a bit concerned if they really got the message that we want to go to a village with a lot of fuel. They took us to the nearest village with the fuel we needed.
We filled up tanks, spare tanks. We even considered filling up our drinking bottles with spare fuel so that this wouldn't happen again.
Going to the shower and sauna place. How do you know when your shower is ready in Mongolia? This is how.
The temples of Km En were really beautiful. They're also the oldest temples in Mongolia.
I decided to go into the temple and locate the monk because we wanted a blessing for the journey. We wanted him to bless the ATVs so that we could continue all the way to Sweden. So we're going with motorbikes from Mongolia to Sweden, and we like to have one of these scarves on our bike and a blessing for good journey. When I got back from the temple, Peter waited outside and he had bought this snuff.
Yeah, what did it do? Yeah.
I start small.
Okay, go.
I don't think Christian has ever experienced tobacco.
Oh my god. They're like... We're having a little issue with the oil.
It's fuck all.
There's no oil and it's black.
Fuck. Vi måste dumpa i all olja vi har.
When Christian checked the dipstick and realized that he had lost some oil and the oil quality was really bad, he got a bit anxious.
It's not a good thing for the oil to be that dark because it's really bad for the engine. So I went under and started screwing it off. I just want to empty it for maybe 2 or 3 deciliters. But then it just got all out of hand. And it was really warm because we were driving just half an hour ago with it. We handled the burn in a very basic way. We put some aloe vera and a lot of water on it.
A lot of things could have got a lot worse. You could have got a bad burn, later on infections, and we were very far away from any hospitals and medical treatments.
Because we didn't check the oil every day, we found ourselves in this situation.
We made a little stop to check the map, and suddenly this Mongolian guy shows up on his motorcycle.
And he wanted to try our ATVs.
He gets a bit annoying after a while, and he's just insisting and wants to try it. So we say, like, what the heck, let him have a little spin. But when he first drives off with this thing, we're both looking at each other thinking, oh damn, did we just help him steal our ATV? So while he's doing that, I'm doing the Mongolian thing, touching other people's stuff. At one point, I almost hit Christian with a bike. Then I decided to brake, but nothing happens because this guy was riding without brakes. In one village, we rolled in, really starving, and we're looking for food. But this Mongolian took us back to his little tent, where his wife started cooking some dinner.
And in the tent there was 2 kids and a few kittens.
And these kids noticed that they got our attention.
Throwing the cat. Oi!
They started to play with the kittens. And the way they did it, it was in this most awful way.
No.
The more Christian tried to stop them, the worse it got.
They were throwing them in the ground and they were kicking them, and it was just awful to see.
No. I can't see it. I can watch.
And I just wanted to leave the tent. But Peter told me, no, we had to stay.
I told him that we couldn't do that would have been a disgrace to their hospitality, as they are cooking food for us and they don't have that much food at all, and they were honored to have us as guests. After many days, we met these 2 Estonians in a remote village, and they were on their way to drive 1 loop around the world on their motorcycles and doing some UNESCO charity along the way.
From Estonia, then we did a round trip to Black Sea.
They were really friendly and very refreshing to meet some people that you can actually speak English with. We talked about everything from kite surfing till the situation of the roads.
I had a pretty bad accident on the road.
Wish we would have had more time to maybe sit down and have a beer with these guys.
We're about 50 miles from the nearest town, and Peter spots this lake. Then we see that it's a very dried up lake. So I stop just before the mud and tell Peter this is probably going to end bad if we decide to go through it. He won't listen, and he goes about 20 meters ahead of me, and then he gets really stuck. So then all of a sudden I take a look at my own ATV and I can see that it's stuck as well.
When I found myself completely stuck, I put in the reverse and switched to 4-wheel drive and tried to reverse out of it. But I immediately just made everything worse as I sank even more. As Christian's ATV wasn't as badly stuck as mine, we both managed to push it onto dry land.
The cable wires on the ATVs, they are about 15 meters long. So we had to meet in the middle, more or less. And we just about made it with a few centimeters to go. When we got the ATV out of the mud, I felt really relieved. It was one of the best feelings on the trip, actually. the lake, we went to the Russian border to spend the final night in Mongolia. Breakfast in Mongolia. Might be the last one, because we're going to Russia.
When we were about to cross the border into Russia, we noticed that we didn't have the right import documents to Christian's ATV. There were a lot of Russian trucks waiting to cross the border. So I walked up to one of them and did a little lie about that one of our ATVs was a bit broken down, and one guy decided to help us out. He opened up the back of his truck and we loaded it.
Go, 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 go!
This was a very critical situation. There was a very big risk that we're gonna come to a dead end and have to cancel the rest of the journey. We decided to do something illegal and try and smuggle one of these ATVs out of the country. And that's in a country where they are pretty strict about laws. And there's no chance in the world that they're gonna let us out of Mongolia without any proof that we imported this machine.